שלום וערב טוב. אני צריך להתנצל קודם, מכיוון שהעברית שלי היא אינה באותה רמה בכלל של חברותא שלי אברהם, וכדי שלא אהיה סימן להתלוצצות, אז אני נאלץ לקרוא את מה שאני עכשיו אמור לדבר עליו. אבל אני חושב שבמקום לקרוא את העברית באנגלית, אז אני אקרא את העברית ולא את התרגום האנגלית שלי, מכיוון שכולם מכירים את זה. אז אם כן, אפשר גם כן להוריד את הטקסטים העבריים ולהגדיל את הציור. זה כמו שאומרים באנגלית, up to you. אבל אני עכשיו אקריא את המאמר, מכיוון שאני גם כן נאלץ לצאת מכאן בערך ב-6:15, משהו כזה. Okay, I'd like to first say that this is an abridgment and an expansion of an article to be published in the Festschrift in honor of Professor Moshe Idel. So perhaps it should not be published again in the proceedings of this conference. One of the conclusions to be drawn from Idel's research on Italian Kabbalah is that the ban on Avraham Abulafia's Kabbalistic writings declared by Rav Shlomo ben Aderet in the late 13th century Spain did not hold force among most Italian Kabbalists until at least after the Spanish expulsion and the influence of Rabbi Yehuda Chayat. Indeed, one finds many Italian manuscripts, including both works by Abulafia's Neo-Maimonidean ecstatic Kabbalah, as well as the traditional works of the Spanish theurgical Kabbalah. However, as far as I can tell, the artifact that has been labeled the magnificent parchment of the Italian Renaissance, a self-proclaimed Yeriah haGedolah, is the only classical Kabbalistic work that attempts to synthesize these two tendencies in Spanish Kabbalah. The anonymous, continuous narrative voice of this non-inconsiderable text of this artifact, that has approximately 30,000 words, is that of the artist-author of a sui generis, magnificently designed, pattern-scripted painted scroll, interwoven with numerous short, typically 1 or 2 lines, and long, up to 3 pages, quotes and paraphrases, always without attribution from earlier sources. The result is a visually stunning and unique précis of pre-Lurianic Italian Kabbalah before the large influx of Zoharic texts in the second half of the 15th century from a panoply of Kabbalistic sources from the mid-12th century to the late 14th century available in Italy. Sometimes the author seems to intentionally prefer the perhaps contemporary fashionable late Neoplatonic ontological parlance and conceptual divisions of the 15th century Italy, though these ideas have earlier literary roots over the various traditional Kabbalistic ones that express the same ideas. We don't know exactly when it was composed. The Kabbalistic sources of the ideas and quotes deriving from Spanish, French, Italian Kabbalah apparently do not post-date the late 14th, early 15th century. Its usage of the Zohar do not exceed indications that the author's knowledge of it derived solely from the works of Rabbi Menachem Rekanati, and shows no trace of influence of the Pisa circle of Kabbalists or that of Rabbi Yochanan Alimano, although it exhibits numerous typical tendencies of 14th, 15th century Italian Kabbalah as described by Edel. The absence of the Zohar has important implications for what we should not expect in this artifact. Namely, while depicting, among other things, the cosmic dimensions of the holy divine emanation, the relationship between the divine and the human mind, the dramatic dynamic action of the Sfirot, as depicted in the Zohar, is missing. The Sfirot here are only unchangingly united. Thus, there is no difference between the upper union of the Sfirot, wisdom and understanding, and the lower union of Tiferet and Malchut, all terms used in this artifact. All are intrinsically and unchangingly unified in the Godhead, though the three supernals are beyond human perception. All are unchanging, albeit each Sphira is expressible in various somewhat related properties. Exile, galut, and its mythic national historical connotations has no implication here. And the only time redemption, Geula, is discussed is when it refers to the 50,000 year cosmic jubilee known to him through Rekanati's Kabbalah. Considering the financial means necessary to produce such a monumental document of approximately 1 meter wide and 3 meters long, it is not surprising that it seems to depict a static and self-satisfied elitism, wherein the relative status of the concubine and the queen mother define each other, both symbolically and figuratively. The prostituted material realm and the realm of the cosmic wheel of time and spirit, though to both God gives equal attention, and thereby their stations are statically defined. Apparently, this circle of Kabbalists had little to complain about. The artifact is composed of two semi-distinct parts. The top 2/3 depict the divine emanation as both vertical panels occupied by either writing or illustration, with a central panel comprising a currently construed minority placement of the 10 circular figures of the Sfirot, with a large eclectic collection of their symbolic synonyms, surrounded by 9 other hierarchical illustrations of the same visual spherotic pattern, but with alternative, though not contradictory, ontological settings and designations. The bottom third depicts the angelic realm, including the illustrated sections of the 4 who entered Pardes, with a commentary based on the anonymous Marechet Elukut. With reference to Neoplatonic parlance and the conceptual divisions that would seem to especially be the case with regard to Seichel, the Neoplatonic nous, as the first created being, as the Nivra HaRishon, which may have been introduced to Kabbalah via Yosef ibn Latif, and is found in Nachmanides' commentary on Maseh Bereshit, using the term Hanivra HaRishon as referring to the divine Seichel, and so to Rabbi Yaakov ben Sheshet, Meshiv Dvarim Nichochim. There we find God as absolute, ineffable, transcendent, and the mind as the first creation, the medium through which all creation goes into being, and the source and limit of the union of the creator and the creation. Some of the doctrines related to Ibn Latif's first created being, such as the implications of the primordial point and prophecy, are found in the magnificent parchment, but other symbols, such as the fount of life and the central significance of the Brit, are not, thus calling into question the direct influence of Ibn Latif over a 200-year period. Regarding the late 15th century Italian Kabbalah, Moshe Idel suggested that Ficino and other recent Neoplatonic influences, but we need to, though, acknowledge the important influence of manuscript Vatican 441, and which will be soon published by Eliezer Baumgarten as the Seder HaIlan. There, which is much closer in time to the magnificent parchment that we're talking about, it may have been composed in the same school because of similar philosophical locutions that are repeated in both of these artifacts more than 10 times. So here are some examples, and then we'll discuss the conceptual implications of it. He says, "Hasechel v'hamaskil v'hamuskal davar echad. V'hinei na yadata shehabore v'hamalach v'sechel ha'adam mitzad hatzelem v'hadmut shehu haruach hapnimi atzmut achat be'et hahaskala. Omnam Hashem Yitbarach tamid hu hasechel v'tamid hu hamaskil v'tamid hu hamuskal. Klomar tamid bepoal. Omnam hasiba harishona hi inyan hanitzchut makif v'lo mukaf. Umevuar shehu Yitbarach eno sechel ki hu yotzer hasechel val bilti bal tachlit ועל המציאות, ועל הנצחות, ועל החיים, כי הוא סיבה תקצרנה הלשונות מהגדתן. והנמצא הנברא הראשון הוא השכל, הוא עצם אשר אינו עם גודל ולא גוף ולא יצנועה, אשר בעבור זה היה על הזמן ועם הנצחות. These principles and locutions are reiterated repeatedly in the course of the text, and let's bring in the Ilan, באמצע הריס העליון של העין שלמעלה מהכתר, הוא נקרא האין סוף, והנמצא הראשון הוא השכל. אבל הסיבה הראשונה אינו שכל, כי הוא יוצר השכל, והוא על בלתי בעל תכלית. וקרוב לזה גם כן בספר אמרי שפר של רב אברהם אבולעפיה. אלא ששם משמע שהשכל הוא הסיבה הראשונה. וכאן השכל למטה מהסיבה הראשונה. תקצרנה, אז לגבי האינסוף, תקצרנה הלשונות בהגדר, והוא על הספור ואין דיבור, אין סוף. ועין רודף אותו, כי הוא סיבת הסיבות, ועל המציאות, ועל הנצחות ועל החיים, כי הוא אור נקי, ולפני אחד יוצר הכל. ומן הכתר ולמעלה לא נערוך מפני החושך. Moreover, the second direct mention of the first created mind towards the end of the scroll in the third section, there is another correspondence in the third section of the quote from manuscript 441. Shmana ki הנמצא הראשון הוא השכל ולא יתנועה והוא צר הדברים אשר תחתיו ומעמידם. And further we read הנמצא היוצר הראשון הוא על בלתי בעל תכלית, ונמצא שני הנברא הוא בלתי בעל תכלית, והוא השכל. ומבואר הוא, אם כן, שהסיבה הראשונה אינו שכל ולא נפש ולא טבע, אך היא על השכל ועל הנפש ועל הטבע, ויוצר השכל ויוצר את הנפש והטבע, ונותנת להם מציאות בדרך יצירה. Now, with regard to this set of categories, seichel, nefesh, and teva, we may suspect Neoplatonic rather than Kabbalistic ontological designations. However, upon closer examination, it's more likely that these categories, mind, soul, and nature, are derived from Rabbi Yehuda Halevi's Kuzari, book 5, where these three terms appear many times. The terms al akol and al nafsani and al tabi'i may have, which is the original terms that the Kuzari used, may have derived from early Shiite influence, as was discovered by Professor Shlomo Pinas, the great teacher of Moshe Idel. And so, with regard to the first section of the first quote, also this discloses the meditative instruction deriving from Abulafian Neo-Maimonidean epistemology, where we read lahasig hadvarim kamo shehem ubeheseg hadvarim yeda sibatam ubeheker sibatam yeda amitut boro v'zehu tachlit hakavana ba'adam v'oz tidabek haneshama basechel v'hiyeh hasechel v'hamaskil v'hamuskal echad tavin shehemetzai ben האדם ובין בוראו הוא השכל הנמצא בנו בפועל, וכשנתדבק הנפש בשכל חלק אחר חלק והתחבר סופה לראשה, תמצא הכל אחד, וזהו המכוון בשכל משכיל ומושכל. והנה נא ידעת שהבורא והמלאך והשכל הכל עצמות Havaya Echad. Regarding the attempt to also maintain the Abulafian position with respect to the unity and indivisibility of mind and divinity, we read in that Ilan, Omnam hu yitbarach sechel pashut, v'gam sechel hu shem lasiba harishona, hakrova hapoelet l'chol mashu lamata min hashemayim, v'hu hasechel hapoel b'nefesh adam. Now, to go on to a third ontological stratum, to precisely sum up the ontology of the Zoharic Idra stratum, we find that all reality emerges from the hidden transcendent mind, the Mochas Tima'ah, emanating into being the revealed wisdom and understanding, Chokhmah and Binah, the means of coherent communication, and on the other hand, in the rising direction, going from below to above, the source of the hidden transcendent mind, the Mochas Tima'ah, is the unknowable, who cannot be called mind, but who is, on the other hand, accessible in the cleaving that arises authentically from the passionate essence of the human heart. Now, I'd like to bring an authorized translation of an extended quote from a text called The All-Creating Monarch. a root tantra from the oldest school of Tibetan Buddhism, the Nyingmapa, whose highest teaching this represents, which is called the Great Perfection of Dzogchen. So the all-creating monarch states as follows: all phenomena are identical in their source, awakened mind. Mind is the essence of what simply is. What simply is, non-dual and supremely blissful, supports all distinct manifestations, yet is itself utterly without distinct features. Abiding timelessly like space, free of elaboration, beyond any frame of reference, it is one in that it cannot be enumerated, while awakened mind cannot be quantified or characterized. Phenomena created by mind come about in infinite variety. What is created by mind, you ask? I have revealed that Buddhas, ordinary beings, and the universe of appearances and possibilities are created from the essence, the nature of mind, and so become evident. The manifestation of the five great elements and the six kinds of being constitute the nature of mind emerging in its multiplicity. My nature is indivisible and free of elaboration. So this abode, this basic space of phenomena, was created by me. Nothing but enlightenment dwells within. My nature is unobstructed and all-pervasive, so the space of lucidity is the immeasurable mansion of timeless awareness, where nothing but naturally occurring timeless awareness dwells. This itself is shown to be the basic space from which samsara and nirvana and the three kayas, aspects of being, arise. Since I myself am the very heart from which everything arises, the five great elements, the three realms, and the six kinds of beings are nothing but my enlightened form, speech, and mind, so they are my nature and my array. Awakened mind creates the beings of the three realms, the universe of appearances and possibilities. It creates the harmony between cause and result, and metaphor, underlying meaning and rationale. From the perspective of cause, it creates the elements. From the perspective of result, it creates the beings of the three realms. From the perspective of metaphor, space serves as the universal metaphor. And from the perspective of underlying meaning, its unborn quality serves as the universal meaning. Everything is created through the nature of awakened mind, which alone remains uncreated, so no need to be created. The essence of awareness is shown to be beyond imagination and expression, within the ultimate heart essence, which transcends existence and non-existence. All phenomena are unceasing, and regardless of the display that arises, their very essence is unimaginable and unexpressible expanse. The meditation instruction of this Great Perfection Tantra states as follows: completely pure meditative absorption in the unborn nature of everything does not depend on circumstances or whether or not one is meditating. The focus of meditation is all phenomena, however they manifest. Since there is no technique that specifies how or where to rest, one meditates by resting in the natural state, without seeking. Within enlightenment, the nature of phenomena that cannot be cultivated in meditation, there is no duality of meditation and something upon which to meditate. So one meditates by resting naturally without deliberately meditating. Ultimate reality, the meaning underlying everything, is unborn, with the awareness that discursive thoughts and characteristics are likewise not a single ordinary thought process that stirs the mind ever diverges from the context of being unborn. So however thought occurs if one understands that this is meditation, there is no distraction, regardless of what transpires, even if one does not try to meditate. To sum up, here we find 4 doctrines and meditations. The number 1, the magnificent Parchment doctrine of the transcendent God who emanates wisdom, by which all diversity comes into being, and whose meditation process involves the union of mind, mentator, and mentated. The second one is the Abulafian doctrine, where the transcendent God and his functional wisdom are never distinct, and whose meditation process also involves the union of mind, mentator, and mentation. And 3, the Zoharic Idra and Hechalot of the Zohar model, where in general, Dvekut involves the union of mind, mentator, and mentation, which there is called Kol Ruach B'Diburu Machshava, but where, in order to unite with the Absolute, this is only if and when the passionate essence or Re'uta Deliba of the person is naturally expressing itself. And then the 4th one is the great perfection model of certain schools of Buddhism, where timeless awakened mind and lucid awareness unpacks and loosens the concentration found in the union of mind, mentator, and mentated, which is similar also to the classical Kabbalistic, rather the classical early Hasidic understanding of Dveikut as simply being the activation of the presence of one's faith, as Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Ponoi said often, ha'amana hu adveikut. And with reference to the absolute, it is construed similarly to the Abulafian doctrine, in which transcendent God and wisdom are never distinct. Whereas with regard to the union with the transcendent absolute, it seems to veer closer to the Zoharic Idra model, when it says that the essence of awareness is shown to be beyond imagination and expression within the ultimate hard essence, which transcends existence and non-existence. So however thought occurs, if one understands that this is meditation, there is no distraction, regardless of what transpires, even if one does not try to meditate. It's all okay. And when the heart essence, which transcends existence and non-existence, wells up in the individual, then that person, anyone, is in union with the absolute. Thank you.
תודה רבה, מנחם. אולי יש מישהו שאלות, question?
Menachem, I have a quick question. The last piece there that you said is his Abulafian. It's Abulafian. Could also say it's the Rambam, no?
Yeah, you could say, although
maybe the way of saying
though, the big question is, with regard to the Rambam, is the inyan of the union of Seichel, Maskil, and Muskal is discussed in the first part of the Moreh Nevuchim, and it basically refers not to Dveikut per se, but more to the experience of learning. Whereas in the third part of the Rambam, where he talks about Dveikut, that inyan is not mentioned. So that's why I'm saying that it's Abulafia, because it's Abulafia who's making the connection, the vital connection, I have to say, because it's really the source of all meditation theory in Kabbalah and Chassidut that comes afterwards, between the first book and the third book of the Rambam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. אני מאוד מתנצל על זה שלא יכולתי לדבר, לומר את הדברים האלה בעברית או ברוסית או משהו כזה, אבל כי אני לא יודע עד כמה היה ניתן לעכל את כל
בכל מקרה, תודה רבה לך, מנחם, הייתי מאוד שמח לשמוע אותך, ואני בטוח שעוד יהיה לי תגובות, לא עכשיו, אבל קצת הפריעו לי, אבל תודה רבה.
מי שרוצה את המאמר,
כן.
אני אשלח את PDF של זה.
תשלח.
I'd like to.
אוקיי, אז אסתר, אולי אשלח PDF אלייך, ואת תמסרי את זה לכל החברה שרוצים. כי אני לא יודע את האימייל של כולכם.
לי יש שאלה, אולי זה לא קשור בדיוק לכל שדיברת, אבל בעניין השכל, משכיל ומושכל, אני עכשיו חשבתי, ניסיתי לקרוא שירה של פרמנידס על הטבע, או על פריפיוזיס.
אתה מדבר על פרמנידס,
פרמנידס, לא אפלטון, פרמנידס, כן. אז אחד מהדברים העקרוניים שלו, אני ניסיתי לקרוא את זה ביוונית, שאני לא כל כך, אפשר להגיד, לא יודע, או יודע, אבל בכל מקרה לקרוא טקסט במקור זה עוזר. אז שם אני ראיתי שעיקר זה קשר בין נואמה ונואזיס. ונואמה זה נוס יוונית זה שכל. זאת אומרת, זה מתרגמים כשכל. ושכל משכיל ומושכל של הרמב"ם, זה ברור שזה נואמה ונואזיס ביחד. אבל חשוב שנוס נואמה ונואזיס. זאת אומרת, השלושה. אני חשבתי שהרמב"ם הוא, כל הרעיון הזה, איכות בשכל הפועל, שכל משכיל ומושכל, שזה בעצם גישה פריפטטית מזרחית, זאת אומרת, זה משהו דומה, יש אצל אבן סינה ואל-פאראבי, וברור ששימוש בשכל הפועל במחשבה מיסטית, זה מעניין שפרמנידס זה גם מיסטיקה. פרמנידס רעיון להתייחד עם היש, עם ההוויה, זה העיקר של כל השירה הזאת.
נכון, הוא השורש גם של כל הדבר הזה.
כן, אז פה מאוד מעניין להסתכל על ההבדלים, שאם כל הסיפור של מיסטיקה מתחיל מפרמנידס, אפשר להגיד, וכשאומרים על שכל משכיל, אז מה בדיוק, אצל הרמב"ם לפחות יש הבדל אחד, שזה שלושה, זה איכות של שלושה, שכל, משכיל ומושכל. אצל פרמנידס הוא אומר, אפשר להגיד, משכיל ומושכל, או שכל ומושכל. יש שתיים שהוא מייחד אותם, ומזה הוא יוצא שכל העולם שלם, הכל כבר, מה השאלה? אני חושב שאין שם בעצם דרך. זאת אומרת, יש מטרה, יש יעד של הדרך, אבל אין דרך עצמו. כשאני אומר על פרמנידס, פרמנידס הכל שלם, הכל הוא כמו שהוא נמצא בתוך האמת, נמצא בתוך ההוויה, ואין שום דבר, הוא מסתכל והוא רואה מה הוא רואה. אבל אצל רמב"ם לפחות יש דרך איך להגיע לזה. זאת אומרת, מתחילים משלושה נפרדות, שכל, משכיל ומושכל, בשכל פוטנציאלי הם לא ביחד, לא מיוחדים, אבל אנחנו צריכים לייחד אותם. וזה הדרך, זה מסלול. ושם באנתולוגיה, בעצם אנתולוגיה אירופאית, אין דרך, יש רק, כמו שאנחנו כבר, כמו שהכל כבר אמת, אבל אין דרך ממצב שלנו לאמת.
כדי להיות כאילו סניגור על פרמנידס, צריכים לומר שאנחנו קיבלנו רק פרגמנטים, לא קיבלנו את כל הספר, אז יכול להיות שיש שם גם כן דרך.
יכול להיות, אני חס ושלום לא קטגור על פרמנידס, אבל זה חשוב שאנחנו רואים איזה מין קשר בין הפילוסופיה והמיסטיקה, מה שמעניין שפרמין זה פילוסופיה ומיסטיקה ביחד, זה ברור.
האמת הוא שגם כן בדור שלנו, מהחוקרים הגדולים של הבודהיזם הטיבטית, גם כן מאוד מאוד קשורים למיסטיקה של פרמנידס. חבר שלי שהוא מאוד מאומן בבודהיזם טיבטנית, הוא גם כן דווקא תרגם את פרמנידס לאנגלית.
לאנגלית. אני יודע שיהודה הוא תרגם לעברית, אבל להשתמש בזה כטקסט פילוסופית אני לא יכול, אני לא רואה שם פילוסופיה, אני רואה שם שירה, ופילוסופיה נעלמה. וזו סיבה שיש איזה תרגומים בעברית אחרים? לא, בסדר.
יש הרבה תרגומים באנגלית.
לא, לאנגלית זה ברור, לאנגלית יש טובים, אני אומר על עברית.
לעברית, זו שאלה. אני שוב פעם צריך להתמצא, כי יש לי עוד זום.
בכל מקרה, תודה רבה.